So welcome back for the next instalment of my Inktober Chronicles. And if you remember at the end of last week, oh hang on, let me just get rid of those bulky pages. Yeah, at the end of last week I'd gone for a little roam around a National Trust place, and so then starting with this one, with the theme of guidebook. This is actually my National Trust handbook, and most of the time I use the app when I'm planning to visit places, but I do like looking at the book as well. So that's what that chapter is about. Again, as I've said before, if you want to pause it and read this chapter you can, but I will be reading it all through in a separate video at the end. And then day 16 we had Grungy, and this is a chapter about me trying to have a clear out and declutter in my garage, more or less successfully, but by the end of it my hands looked like I'd stripped down an engine or done an oil change or something. Absolutely filthy. This made up, but based on what I've tried to do in the past and what I hope to do in the near future, because my garage does need sorting out. So this is sort of almost like my conscience on the page telling me that I need to sort out my garage. And then 17, journal. So on this day in my story I go to a National Trust property, completely fictional, because I've not even got an idea in my head of what place this was. Like some of them I don't mention a place name, but in my head I know where I'm thinking of, but this one was just very generic. It could be any National Trust property. And I buy an expensive journal in the gift shop with a William Morris design on the front. And the William Morris, I just want to show you, some years ago I bought some wallpaper samples, and they're just A4 sheets with just various prints of William Morris designs, and a couple of them are actually just like flat smooth prints, but most of them you can kind of feel the texture where they've actually been printed. So you can imagine how expensive the wallpaper is. I mean, I had to pay for the A4 samples, so that gives you an idea. I don't know what the prices are now, but yeah, the letter that came with the samples, look, there's a 10% voucher, and the voucher ran out in December 2013. So that tells you how long I've had these samples, and I've been holding on to them, and because in my mind they're unique, because I'm not likely to buy more, and maybe one day I might use them, but for now they're just a pretty collection. But it was the willow pattern was my inspiration for the book cover in my story. And then the next day, oops, so day 18, chapter 18, I go for a drive looking for some fabric. And yeah, so this is actually based on the inside of my car that I currently have. We just ignore this half of the sketch, which is terrible, but this half's not too bad. There was so much darkness, and I was struggling to get the different layers of, you know, what was the darkest areas, so it all just looks a little bit grey and blur. But there you go, that's inside my car. And then day 19, our word was ridge, and here we've got a map of the Ridgeway path, which is 87 miles long. So it starts, you know, I kind of live in this sort of general area. So on the really long trek that I'd done earlier in the month, it started out at Barbary Castle and kind of went in a little loop sort of here. And then on this day, I've sort of said I've gone to the Uffington White Horse and Wayland Smithy. I mean, look at the horse. I mean, it's just hilarious. It's got a beak, for goodness sake. I don't know how close this is to how it originally looked, or whether it's just because it's over the years when it's been refreshed, maybe it's just gradually got less and less distinct. I don't know. But yeah, the white horse, I mean, this is the oldest white horse in Britain, and it's very odd looking, but I love it. And then Wayland Smithy is actually like an ancient burial tomb. So that was the walk I supposedly did on this day. Of course, I didn't actually do it, but I would like to. You know, maybe this is something, again, like I was saying about with cleaning out my garage, it's almost like I'm documenting what I hope to do rather than what I've actually done. And day 20, oh dear, this is an embarrassing one. This is actually a true story. This happened to me several years ago. It was when I had my classic car and I was out driving around looking for scenic spots to take photos of my car with nice kind of countryside backgrounds. And I actually went up this track, which was a mistake, and the car got stuck and I had to call the breakdown people. And then they took so long arriving, I ended up calling my dad as well. So it ended up being my dad and the guy from the breakdown company trying to rescue me from this stupid predicament that I'd got myself in. But yeah, let's move on from that one. And then we've got day 21, which the chapter theme was, or the theme for the day was rhinoceros. And for the most part, you know, obviously I'd looked ahead at the words for the month, but I'd not really thought in much detail about how I was going to tackle each of those words. It's kind of like I've only been thinking a few days ahead, really, or 4 days ahead, because that's how much I need to get done to kind of print the signatures. But rhinoceros was one that from the beginning I was thinking, how on earth am I going to do something appropriate to the area where I live that involves a rhinoceros? And of course, you know, I could have gone to a zoo or something like that, but it's part of the story is about trying to keep my costs down because, you know, I'm currently unemployed. So I'm not likely to go to a zoo. And then I was thinking maybe I'm just looking at old photos of when I went to a zoo or something. Anyway, I'd mentioned to my mum that, you know, what on earth am I going to do for rhinoceros? And she was kind of coming up with various suggestions. Anyway, one day it just so happened that my mum and dad were watching a programme called The Repair Shop. If you're in the UK, you probably know it. If you're elsewhere, I don't know how well known it is in other places. But anyway, there was somebody came in with this leather rhinoceros that was in need of repair. And my mum said to my dad, it's like, quick, record it for Laura. So the next time I saw my mum and dad, they kind of showed me like the sort of end part of kind of what they'd done with the rhino. Because I had missed the beginning part, so I actually looked up to see if there was a clip of it on YouTube, and there's not like a full video of it on YouTube, but there are sort of 3 little clips which show, you know, the majority of that story about the rhino. So if you're interested, I will actually link those videos below, and you can see the journey that little Ralph Rhino went on. But that was you know, that fitted nicely in my story. So that's thanks to my mum, because she made my dad record it so that I could see this rhino being repaired. So that's technically the end of this video, but I am going to give you just a little preview of what's coming later today. Obviously you can see I've not done the sketch for today yet. The word for today is camp, and again, I'm not going camping. I'm not even going to pretend I'm going camping. So in the story that I'd written for today, I bought a bottle of camp coffee, and I am actually collecting a shopping order later today, and I have actually ordered a bottle of camp coffee because I've never tried it. I might love it, I might absolutely hate it, but of course I had to get this section of pages done in advance so that I could do the rhino yesterday. So I've kind of guessed at my reaction to the camp coffee. So when you come back next week to see days 22 onwards, you'll find out how accurate my guess was of what I think of camp coffee. And if you've had it, let me know what you think. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week.